Welcome here on Wholesome News Review. My name is Johnson Mwakazi. This is where we'll be looking at news from a different perspective, and we're looking at the positive perspective. You know, generally the media world works on one philosophy: what bleeds leads. For us, we're looking at what answers needs. That is basically what we'll be making sure that leads. It becomes the lead story. So we'll be looking at the newspapers, but we'll be picking the stories that make sense, picking the stories that will develop us as country, as Kenyans, and making sure that we take this country to the next level of excellence. I'm joined this particular day with Mr. Elijah Mwangi, who is a prolific journalist as well, and we're going to work together so that at least we make sure that you are well informed in regards to positive stories happening in this country. So, Elijah Mwangi, what are the big stories that you feel Kenyans need to know about today?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mwakazi. Now, today's standard, of course, we have the big stories when it comes to the political wing, where the government shut down looms because of the county revenue bill and all that. But one story is really striking here, and it's on matters economy, where Uhuru, that is the president, has appointed the central bank governor. You remember one man has been there, that is Njuguna. And there seems to be a kind of consideration. Of course, we know that Njuguna Ndungu comes from the Agikuyu tribe, so to speak. And the person that is being considered to be the successor is none other than Patrick Ngugi Njoroge. Now, one needs to understand, yes, there is regional balance, but, you know, his CV or his profile speaks volumes.
What do you mean by that? Because I mean, yes, both of them are from the Agikuyu community, I think.
Now, Ngugi Njoroge is an IMF advisor. He has been there. But from the time there was that wave of we are going to have the next central bank governor, he has not been acting capacity. It's good so that people can note that. The person who has been there in acting capacity is none other than Dr. Serima. That's the person who has been acting. But now, from the names that have been presented, of course, now, you know, it's a process. There's the vetting. And so from the names that have been presented so far, I think Patrick Ngugi Njoroge has a competitive edge. So,
of course, it's very important to note that it has nothing to do with their tribe. It has everything to do with their competence at the end of it all. Yeah,
exactly. And also something else that you talked of, you know, this regional balance. Ngugi is the proposed governor, but we have the chairman, we have other people as well. And so we have Mohamed Nyaoga as the chairman. Then we have Sheila Bijiwe and Aaron Shirima as the deputy governors. So it's not just a matter of a tribe. When it comes to tribe there, we see there's a balance, and also gender, because Sheila is also there. Something else, Mwakazi, maybe also to note is that this comes at a critical time in Kenyan history, because, you know, June is associated with budget. And we had the estimates sometimes, you know, in May. So this comes at a very critical time. Remember, our shilling, sorry to say, has not been doing very well.
At 96 to the dollar.
That raises some eyebrows. Absolutely. Because you see now, it's not so good for our economy. And we know central bank is all about money. And from a layman's point of view, central bank means money. So I think entry of Patrick Ngugi Njoroge, one of the things is to make sure at least there is to try and stabilize. Of course, there are so many factors that determine how the shilling is trading. But of course, in his entry, he has really to see the regulation of money markets and all that.
Absolutely. And it's really important for us to note that Professor Njuguna Ndungu, the former governor, was actually rated as the central banker of the year.
Oh, yes.
And that is according to the African Bankers magazine. That is a European-based magazine. And that, for us, really, as a country, we need to celebrate him. Of course, yes, there are all these things that really happened under his watch that Kenyans would not be proud to call back home in terms of celebrating. But we need to also appreciate that other people are appreciating his leadership. Exactly. For Dr. Patrick Ngugi, it's a question of, you know what, there's a lot in his plate to take care of. Exactly. There are lots of expectations, as you're saying. In regards to the Daily Nation, of course, the big story is about the drama as Kamau evades graft arrest. We're basically looking at Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Transport. Interestingly, and of course I won't focus on that, but it's amazing that he was supposed to be arrested, but when they went to his place, he was nowhere to be found. And something interesting about that story, it says that his phone appeared to be switched off. So I wondered, you know, can a phone appear to be switched off? You know, very interesting. I mean, but you know, it's something that of course the court is taking very seriously, and they've given him an appointment to appear tomorrow. So we don't want to discuss anything that is in court because of sub judice. But let's move on to a story here that is very powerful, very saddening at the same time. It's titled "Merchants of Death Rule Kenya Roads." In fact, when you look at pages 4 and 5, they're really given prominence. And we're basically looking at, in fact, these are the facts, Bwana Elijah, and this is really sad. When you're looking at terrorism, we're really sad.
Yes.
The country grinds to a halt. But when you look at the facts and figures here, according to the National Transport and Safety Authority, 531 pedestrians were killed on Kenyan roads between when? January 1st of this year to May 28th. 531. And it's like, you know what? Nothing big happened. It's only when these statistics are brought to our fore, that's when we realized, wait a minute, this is massive.
And, you know, it's quite sad to know that, you know, as the country is struggling with other factors, some natural disasters like floods, what we're experiencing here in Nairobi and other parts of the country, we have a man-made catastrophes.
This is man-made. In fact, it says how careless drivers have turned roads into killing fields.
And of course, at the end of the day, we look at the National Transport and Safety Authority. But sometimes I tend to think that, you know, NTSA may be there. Of course, there's what they are doing. But at the end of the day, it's all about you as a driver. As a road user, are you using the road in the right way? So as long as we have the NTSA, we have the traffic police, you know, they have their own challenges, and we appreciate their challenges as well. But I think Kenyans need to be sober on the road.
Definitely. I mean, there has to be a sense of responsibility.
Yes.
At the same time, of course, there is responsibility in regards to even, you know, NTSA and all the, you know, institutions of government. For instance, there is this really concern, a major concern here. There is a trend that highlights the lack of emergency support. In fact, when you read the stories here, they're very personal stories. Somebody was walking with their friend and all of a sudden a car came, crushed their friend. The friend just died. You can imagine the trauma. But something interesting is that it took minutes upon minutes for any support to come by. In fact, the sad thing was that other vehicles would pass, look, and move on. And this is somebody who really needs that care. You know, onlookers. I mean, the days of Samaritans, where are the Samaritans these days?
It's a sad state of affair, I must admit. But of course, you know, I remember one time when there was this directive, or rather a suggestion from the Ministry of Transport, and people were being advised to travel during the day. And the main reason why that directive was being given is to minimize, you know, when you have an accident during the day, you may have people come and rescue. But now when it happens at night, things can only get worse. There's no one to attend to you. Of course, when you're driving at night, especially this rainy season, there is a blurred vision and all that. So I think we need to go back to the basics. Back to the basics, whereby now we have a situation, people coming to terms that whatever things that are being brought by NTSA, some of them mean good for us. And it's the high time that it's, you know, when we talk of these accidents, they mainly affect, you know, the people using the public.
Public means
and now,
pedestrians.
yeah, when you look at the matatu industry, something needs to be done to restore sanity in that industry. You get governors there, someone thinks, no, I need to go there first.
Exactly. In fact, there's something. There's a phenomenon called matatu squad. This is where, you know, the operators, that's the driver and the conductor, they know they have a limit. There is an amount of money that they have to take to their bosses at the end of the day. So once they reach that, they want to get extra money. So what they do is when they are going out for lunch or for a break, they get other drivers to drive. So it becomes very hard to establish a line of responsibility and accountability. And at the same time, because you're rushing, you want to get more money, you end up being careless on the roads. But there's something here that is very important, because we have also this phenomenon of hit and run drivers. In fact, it says 262 of the 531 pedestrians that were hit were actually killed by hit and run vehicles. This is somebody who comes, hits somebody, they don't even stop, they don't even wonder what happened to that person, they drive away. And this is basically a regulation to really help when such a thing happens. In fact, it says the first thing to do when you witness a hit and run accident is to take the details of the vehicle, its registration number, color, and the make. Of course, the question is, I mean, I must have been ready for that hit and run car so that I take down. But I think the big thing is we have gadgets. We cannot control these things. But what can we do with what we have? You have a phone that can record very quickly. I know it's hard, but that can change things. Because it's quite sad. In fact, one of the testimonies here, this lady walking with a friend, and all of a sudden the friend is hit. All she could remember about that car was the color of the car, because it was, you know, traumatic. And of course, the point is, be responsible. As a driver, be responsible. Know that you're dealing with other human beings who are as important as you are. And if you're a pedestrian, you're walking, please make sure that you are careful. And remember, you can send your comments in regards to just solutions on how we can help curb the number of people dying on our roads each year. You can send your comments to 20058. That's 20058, and we'll be sampling some of them. And you can also post us a message on our Twitter handle, that is @WTVKE. That's @WTVKE, and we'll be glad to post to sample some of them.